Jake Harrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he worked on the damaged engine. The cargo ship Terra Nova was old and falling apart, but it was his job to keep it running. The medical supplies in the cargo hold had to reach the colony on Kepler 7. People were dying there, waiting for these medicines. The ship shook hard, throwing Jake against the wall. Red lights flashed everywhere. Something was very wrong. He ran to the control panel and checked the readings. His heart sank. The main engine was failing fast. "Captain Mitchell, we have a big problem down here," Jake spoke into his radio. "The engine is going to explode in maybe 20 minutes. We need to stop the ship right now." Static came through the radio. Then Captain Mitchell's voice crackled, back full of fear. "Jake, we can't stop. Pirates are attacking us. 3 ships, all firing at us. Our shields are almost gone." Jake felt cold. Pirates meant death. The Terra Nova had no weapons. It was just a cargo ship carrying medicine to sick people. The pirates didn't care about that. They only wanted to steal and kill. Another blast shook the ship. This time, the lights went out for a few seconds. When they came back on, Jake could hear alarms screaming everywhere. He looked at his instruments again. The engine was getting worse very fast. "Captain, the engine is dying. If we don't shut it down, it will blow up and kill us all," Jake said into the radio. No answer came back. Jake tried again. Still nothing. The radio was dead. Jake was alone in the engine room. Deep inside the ship, he could hear explosions above him. The pirates were tearing the Terra Nova apart. He had to choose: try to fix the engine and maybe die in an explosion, or leave the engine room and definitely die when the pirates found him. He chose to stay and work. Maybe he could fix it. Maybe he could save the ship and the medical supplies. Maybe he could help the sick people on Kepler 7. Jake opened the main engine panel. Sparks flew out, burning his hands. He ignored the pain and reached inside. The power core was cracked. Coolant was leaking everywhere. The whole system was failing. Above him, the sounds of fighting stopped. That was bad. Very bad. It meant the pirates had won. Jake worked faster. His hands shook as he tried to repair the broken parts. The engine room was getting hotter. The air smelled like burning metal and chemicals. He was running out of time. A new sound made him look up. It wasn't the Terra Nova's engines. It was something else, something big and powerful. Another ship had arrived. Jake hoped it was help. Maybe a military ship had heard their distress call. Maybe someone was coming to save them. The Terra Nova shook again, but this time it was different. The new ship was firing at the pirates. Jake could hear the battle raging above him. Explosions, energy weapons, the screaming of damaged metal. Then, everything went quiet. Jake waited, listening. His heart pounded in his chest. Who had won, the pirates or the new ship? Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors above. They were coming down to the engine room. Jake grabbed a wrench. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was all he had. The engine room door exploded inward. Through the smoke, Jake saw a figure. In strange armor, it was tall and moved like a warrior. The armor was dark blue with silver markings. Jake had never seen anything like it. The figure stepped into the room and removed its helmet. Jake's mouth fell open. It was a woman, but not human. Her skin was pale blue, almost white. Her eyes were large and golden. Her hair was silver and fell to her shoulders. She was beautiful, but also dangerous. Jake could see that in the way she moved, in the way she held her weapon. "Human," she said. Her voice was deep and musical, but she spoke English with a strange accent. "You are alive." Jake tried to speak, but no words came out. He just stared at her. She looked around the engine room. Her golden eyes took in the damage, the sparks, the leaking coolant. "This ship is dying. The engine will explode soon. We must—" "Leave now." Jake found his voice. "What happened to the crew? What happened to Captain Mitchell?" The alien woman's face became sad. "The pirates killed them. You are the only one left alive. I am sorry." Jake felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. Captain Mitchell was dead. All his friends were dead. He was alone. "Come," the alien woman said, reaching out her hand. "My name is Zara Velketh. I am captain of the ship Nightfall. I will take you to safety." Jake looked at her hand, then at the failing engine. The temperature was rising fast. Soon, the whole ship would explode. But these medical supplies were important. People needed them. "I can't leave," Jake said. "There. Our medicines in the cargo hold. People are dying without them." Captain Zara stared at him. "You would die for supplies?" "People are sick. They need these medicines to live. If I don't try to save them, those people will die too." Something changed in Zara's golden eyes. She looked at Jake differently now. "You surprise me, human. Most of your kind run from danger. My name is Jake Harrison," he said. "And I'm not." "Running." Zara nodded slowly. "Jake Harrison. I will help you save these medicines, but we must hurry. This ship has maybe 5 minutes before it explodes." They worked together, Jake and the alien captain. She was strong, much stronger than any. Human. She could lift things that would take 3 men to move. But she followed Jake's instructions about which medicines were most important. As they loaded the last case onto her ship, the Terra Nova's engine finally gave up. The explosion threw them both to the ground. A piece of metal, sharp as a knife, flew through the air. It was heading straight for Jake's head. Zara moved faster than Jake thought possible. She threw herself in front of him, and the metal hit her instead. It cut deep into her side, and blue blood began to flow. "No!" Jake shouted. He caught her as she fell. The blood was warm on his hands. Zara looked up at him, her golden eyes growing dim. "Stupid human," she whispered. "Why did you make me care?" Jake didn't understand what she meant, but he understood that she was dying. She had saved his life, and now she was dying because of it. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. He remembered something he had read in a book about alien cultures. The Cathari. People had an old tradition, an old oath. It was called the Vel Korim. Jake placed his hand on Zara's forehead and spoke. The words he remembered. "By the stars that shine eternal, by the honor that binds us, I give my life to yours. My breath is your breath, my strength is your strength. Until the debt is paid, I am yours to command." Zara's eyes went wide. "What have you done?" she gasped. "I don't know," Jake said honestly. "But you saved me. Now I'm saving you." Something strange happened then. Jake felt a warm feeling in his chest, like a light turning on. He could feel Zara's pain, her weakness, but also her surprise and something else. Respect. The wound in her side began to heal. Not quickly, but enough to stop the bleeding. Jake helped her stand, and together they walked to her ship as the Terra Nova burned behind them. Neither of them knew that Jake's oath would change everything. Not just for them, but for both their species. The human who couldn't run away had just bound himself to an alien captain, and that bond would shake the galaxy. Jake woke up in a room he had never seen before. The walls were smooth and dark, made of some kind of metal that seemed to glow with its own light. The bed was too big for him, and the ceiling was higher than any human room. Everything told him. He was on an alien ship. He sat up slowly. His body felt strange, like something had changed inside him. There was a warm feeling in his chest that hadn't been there before. When he concentrated on it, he could sense something else. Someone else. Zara. He could feel that she was alive, somewhere on the ship. He could feel that she was in pain, but trying to hide it. He could even sense that she was angry about something. How was this possible? The door to his room opened without a sound. A tall figure in dark armor stepped inside. It wasn't Zara. This alien had the same pale blue skin and golden eyes, but the face was harder, more suspicious. The armor had different markings, and Jake could see that this person was a soldier. "You are awake, human," the alien said. The voice was cold and unfriendly. "I am Commander Lin Shao, second in command of this ship. Captain Zara wants to see you." Jake stood up. His legs felt weak, but he managed to walk. "Is she okay?" "I can feel that she's hurt." Lin Zhao stopped walking and stared at Jake. "You can feel the captain's pain? That should not be possible. You are only human." "I don't understand it either," Jake said. "It started after I spoke those words, after the oath." Lin Zhao's golden eyes went wide with shock. "What oath? What words did you speak?" Jake repeated the words he remembered from the book about alien cultures. As he spoke, Lin Zhao's face changed from surprise to horror to anger. "You fool," Lin Zhao hissed. "Do you know what you have done? You have spoken the Velcorim, the most sacred oath of our people. No alien has ever dared to speak those words." "I was trying to save her life," Jake said. "She was dying because she saved me." "The Velcorim is not just words," Lin Zhao said, walking faster now. "It creates a bond between two minds. You are now connected to Captain Zara forever. You must obey her commands. You cannot lie to her, and she is responsible for your life and your actions." Jake felt cold. "Forever?" "Until the debt is paid," Lin Zhao said. "But the debt of a life can never truly be repaid. You are her servant now, human, and she is bound to you whether she wants to be or not." They walked through corridors filled with alien technology. Everything was elegant and beautiful, but also designed for war. Jake saw weapons, armor, and soldiers everywhere. This was a warship, not a peaceful vessel. Other aliens stared at Jake as they passed. Their golden eyes were full of disgust and anger. Jake heard them whispering in their own language, but somehow he understood some of the words. They were calling him names. Weak, worthless, a burden. "Your people don't like humans very much," Jake said to Lin Zhao. "We respect strength and honor," Lin Zhao replied. "Humans are weak. You run from fights. You cry when things become difficult. You have no honor codes, no discipline. Most of us believe your species should have been left to die out naturally." Jake felt anger building in his chest. "We're not. All weak, and we do have honor. Maybe it's different from yours, but we have it." Lin Zhao laughed, but it wasn't a kind sound. "You will learn, human. On this ship, you will learn what real strength means." They stopped at a large door, marked with symbols Jake couldn't read. Lin Zhao pressed a button, and the door slid open. Inside was a room filled with medical equipment. Zara lay on a bed. In the center, connected to machines that beeped and flashed. When Jake saw her, the warm feeling in his chest grew stronger. He could feel her pain more clearly now, and also her frustration. She was awake and saw him coming. "Jake Harrison," she said. Her voice was weak, but her golden eyes were sharp. "You have caused me a great deal of trouble." "I'm sorry," Jake said. "I just wanted to help you." "Help me?" Zara tried to sit up, but the machines beeped louder in protest. "You have bound yourself to me with an oath you do not understand. Do you know what this means?" Jake shook his head. "It means you are mine now," Zara said. "Your life belongs to me. I can command you to do anything, and you must obey. I can send you into battle, and you must go. I can order you to die, and you must die. Is this what you wanted when you tried to help me?" Jake thought about this. The idea scared him, but when he looked at Zara, he didn't feel afraid of her. He felt connected to her, like they were part of the same thing now. "No," he said finally. "I didn't want to be anyone's slave. But I also didn't want you to die. You saved my life, and then you got hurt because of me. I had to do something." Zara stared at him for a long time. Through their bond, Jake could feel her emotions changing. The anger was still there, but now there was also curiosity and something else he couldn't identify. "You realize that my crew wants to throw you out of the airlock," Zara said. "They think you have dishonored me by speaking our sacred words. They think I should kill you to restore my reputation." "Will you?" Jake asked. "I do not know yet," Zara said honestly. "You have put me in a very difficult position. I must report to my superiors soon. They will want to know why I saved a human ship, why I allowed a human to speak the Valkorim, why I accepted the bond instead of rejecting it." "Can you reject it?" Jake asked hopefully. "Not anymore," Zara said. "The bond is complete. I can feel your thoughts, your emotions. Right now, you are scared but trying to be brave. You are worried about me, even though I might order your death. This is very strange for a human." An alarm started blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the medical room. Lin Zhao spoke quickly into a communication device, then turned to Zara. "Captain, we have a problem with the quantum drive. The engineers cannot fix it. We are stuck here, and there are enemy ships in this system." Zara tried to get up again, but she was too weak. "How bad is the damage?" "Very bad. The drive core is completely damaged. It will take days to repair with our current knowledge." Jake stepped forward. "Maybe I can help. I'm an engineer. I worked on drives like yours before." Everyone in the room stared at Jake. Lin Zhao laughed again. "A human engineer? Our technology is far beyond anything your primitive species can understand." "Let me try," Jake said. "What's the worst that could happen? If I can't fix it, you're still stuck. If I can fix it, we all live." Zara looked at Jake through their bond. He could feel her testing his emotions, searching for lies or deception. She found none. "Show him the drive," Zara ordered Lin Zhao. "Captain, this is madness," Lin Zhao protested. "He could sabotage our entire ship." "He is bound to me by the Valkorim," Zara said. "He cannot hurt me or my crew without hurting himself. Show him the drive." Lin Zhao reluctantly led Jake to the engine room. It was 3 times larger than the Terra Nova's engine room, filled with technology that glowed and hummed with power. In the center was the quantum drive, a beautiful machine that looked like a crystal flower made of metal and light. Jake studied the drive for several minutes. The other engineers watched him with suspicious eyes. They whispered to each other in their own language, probably making jokes about the stupid human. But Jake saw something they didn't see. A drive was damaged, yes, but not in the way they thought. The problem wasn't with the main components. It was with the cooling system. Jake recognized the problem because he had seen it before on human ships. "The coolant flow is backwards," Jake said. "You're trying to cool the drive core, but the coolant is flowing in the wrong direction. It's actually making the core hotter." The alien engineers stared at him. One of them, a female with intricate markings on her armor, stepped forward. "That's impossible. The coolant system has safety measures to prevent reverse flow. Not if the safety system itself is damaged," Jake sighed. He pointed to a small component near the base of the drive. "See that regulator? It's cracked. The crack is so small you can barely see it, but it's causing the flow to reverse." The female engineer examined the component with a special tool. Her golden eyes went wide. "He's right. The regulator is damaged. But how did you see this? Our scanners didn't detect it." Human eyes see things differently than yours, Jake said. We're good at noticing small details that don't belong. It took 2 hours to replace the damaged regulator. Jake worked alongside the alien engineers, showing them techniques he had learned fixing old human ships. Some of their methods were better than his, but some of his methods were better than theirs. When they finished, the quantum drive hung to life perfectly. The ship was ready to fly again. Word of Jake's success spread quickly through the ship. The crew still didn't like him, but now they looked at him with confusion instead of pure hatred. How had a weak human solved a problem that their best engineers couldn't fix? Zara called Jake back to the medical room. She was sitting up now, looking stronger. Through their bond, he could feel that her pain was less, but her worries were greater. "You have surprised my crew," she said. "They do not understand how you fixed our drive." "I got lucky," Jake said. "I've seen that kind of problem before." "It was not luck," Zara said. "You saw something we missed because you think differently than we do. This troubles me." "Why does it trouble you?" "Because I must report to High Commander Vexstar soon. He will want to know why I saved humans, why I accepted your oath, why I keep you alive. If I tell him you are useful, he might want to study you. If I tell him you are useless, he will order me to kill you." The massive Cathari battleship Dominion filled the view screen as the nightfall approached. Jake had never seen anything so big or terrifying. The ship was black as space itself, covered in weapons and armor that made it look like a giant metal beast waiting to devour smaller ships. "That is High Commander Vexstar's flagship," Zara said quietly. She stood beside Jake on the bridge, wearing her formal captain's uniform. Through their bond, Jake could feel how nervous she was, though her face showed no emotion. He has ruled the Cathari military for over 50 years. He has never been defeated in battle. Jake watched as smaller ships moved around the Dominion like insects around a giant. "What's he like?" "Proud, harsh. He believes that only the strong deserve to live," Zara said. "He thinks humans are a waste of space and resources. When he sees you, he will probably order your immediate death." "That's encouraging," Jake muttered. Lin Zhao approached them from the communication station. "Captain, High Commander Vexstar demands that you and the human report to his ship immediately. He says to bring no weapons and no guards." Zara nodded. "Prepare the shuttle." 20 minutes later, Jake found himself walking through corridors that made the nightfall look small and simple. Everything on the Dominion was huge and designed to intimidate. The walls were covered with weapons and trophies from conquered worlds. Soldiers twice Jake's size stood at attention as they passed. They entered a massive throne room with a ceiling so high Jake couldn't see the top. At the far end sat High Commander Vexstar on a chair made of black metal and red crystal. He was the largest Cathari Jake had seen, with scars covering his pale blue skin and golden eyes that seemed to burn with inner fire. "Captain Zara Velketh," Vexstar's voice boomed across the room. "You stand accused of violating military protocol, wasting resources on inferior species, and accepting a sacred oath from an alien. How do you answer these charges?" Zara walked forward and knelt on one knee. "High Commander, I saved the human ship because they carried medical supplies to a colony under our protection. I accepted the human's oath because he performed the ritual correctly and with pure intent." "Pure intent?" Vexstar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Humans have no understanding of purity or honor. This creature bound himself to you out of desperation, not honor." Jake felt anger building in his chest. Through their bond, he knew Zara felt it too. She sent him a mental warning to stay quiet, but Jake couldn't help himself. "I took the oath because Captain Zara was dying to save my life," Jake said, stepping forward. "Where I come from, that's called honor." The entire room went silent. Every soldier, every officer, every servant stared at Jake in shock. No one had ever spoken to High Commander Vexstar without permission. Vexstar slowly stood up from his throne. He was even larger than Jake had thought, almost 8 feet tall and built like a warrior. His golden eyes focused on Jake like a predator studying prey. "The human speaks," Vexstar said, walking down the steps toward them. "Tell me, little creature, what do you know of honor?" Jake's heart pounded, but he stood his ground. "I know that honor means keeping your word. I know it means protecting people who can't protect themselves. I know it means doing what's right, even when it's dangerous. And what would you know of danger?" Vexstar stopped just in front of Jake. This close, Jake could see the details of the scars on the commander's face. Each one told a story of battle and survival. "I've seen my friends die. I've watched pirates destroy everything I cared about. I've been alone in a dying ship with nowhere to run," Jake said. "Maybe that's not the same kind of danger you've faced, but it's real enough for me." Vexstar studied Jake for a long moment. "You are either very brave or very stupid human, perhaps both." He turned to Zara. "Captain, your pet has an interesting spirit, but spirit alone does not prove worth. I will give you one chance to redeem yourself. What do you require, High Commander?" Zara asked. "There is a fortress on Zarian Prime where the hegemony is developing new weapons," Vexstar said. "These weapons are designed to break mental bonds and control alien minds. They have also stolen important Cathari technology. You will infiltrate this fortress, recover our stolen property, and destroy their research." Jake felt Zara's shock through their bond. This was a suicide mission. "High Commander, Zarian Prime is the most heavily defended world in hegemony space," Zara said. "It would take a full battle fleet to break through their defenses, which is why you will not attack directly." Vexstar smiled, showing sharp teeth. "You will sneak in using stealth and cunning. If you succeed, your honor will be restored and your human pet will be allowed to live. If you fail, you will both die as traitors deserve." "How long do we have?" Zara asked. 7 days, Vexstar sighed. "If you are not back by then, I will assume you are dead and act accordingly." As they walked back to their shuttle, Jake could feel Zara's despair through their bond. This mission was impossible, and they both knew it. "There has to be a way," Jake said quietly. "The fortress has shield generators that can stop any ship. It has weapons that can destroy a battleship in seconds. It has thousands of soldiers and automated defenses," Zara replied. "Even if we could somehow get inside, how would we get out?" Jake thought about this as their shuttle flew back to the nightfall. When they arrived, Zara called a meeting with her senior officers. They gathered in the war room, a chamber filled with star maps and tactical displays. "Show them the fortress," Zara ordered. Lin Zhao activated the main display. A 3-dimensional image appeared, showing a massive military installation built into the side of a mountain. The fortress was surrounded by energy shields, weapon platforms, and patrol ships. "Fortress Zarian," Lin Zhao said, "home to over 50,000 hegemony soldiers and the most advanced research facilities in their empire. The stolen Cathari technology is being studied in the deepest levels, hundreds of meters underground. The shields never go down." Another officer added, "They're powered by the planet's core itself." Jake studied the display, turning it to see different angles. Something about the fortress looked familiar, but he couldn't figure out what. "What kind of research are they doing there?" Jake asked. "Weapons research, mind control devices, ways to break the mental bonds that some species use for communication," Zara said. "If they succeed, they could enslave entire civilizations." That's when Jake realized what looked familiar about the fortress. The design, the layout, even the way the shields were arranged. It was based on human defensive concepts, but built with alien technology. "I think I know how to get inside," Jake said. Everyone stared at him. Lin Zhao laughed. "You? A human engineer thinks he can solve what our best tactical minds cannot?" "The fortress is built using human defensive theories," Jake explained. "I recognize the pattern. Whoever designed it studied human military history." "That's impossible," Lin Zhao said. "Humans have never built anything this advanced." "No, but we've built smaller versions of the same thing," Jake said. "And every human defensive system has the same weakness. There's always a service entrance that bypasses the main defenses." Zara leaned forward. "Explain." Jake manipulated the display, zooming in on a section of the fortress that looked like solid rock. "Here, this looks like part of the mountain, but it's actually a maintenance access. The designers had to have a way to service the shield generators and weapon systems without shutting down the main defenses. Even if you're right, that entrance would be heavily guarded," another officer said. "Not necessarily," Jake said. "Human psychology says that if you make something look unimportant enough, people ignore it. The maintenance entrance would be disguised and probably only lightly guarded because the enemy thinks no one would be stupid enough to attack their strongest fortress." Zara felt a spark of hope through their bond. "Could we get a small team inside?" "Maybe," Jake said. "But we'd need to move fast once we're in. The fortress is big, but if we know exactly where to go, we might be able to reach the research levels before they detect us." "And then what?" Lin Zhao asked. "Even if we steal the technology, how do we escape?" "The entire fortress will be hunting us," Jake smiled. "That's where human unpredictability comes in. We don't try to sneak out. We cause so much chaos and confusion that they can't organize a proper response. We make them think there are enemies everywhere." Over the next 3 days, they planned the mission in detail. Jake worked with a tactical team to identify weak points in the fortress design. He showed them human tricks for moving unseen through enemy territory, for creating distractions, for making a small force seem like a large army. The Cathari officers were skeptical at first, but as Jake explained his ideas, they began to see the possibilities. Human tactics were different from Cathari tactics. Where the Cathari valued direct confrontation and honorable combat, humans valued survival and getting the job done by any means necessary. "Your species fights like cowards," Lin Zhao said during one planning session. "We fight like survivors," Jake corrected. "Honor is great, but dead heroes don't save anyone." Zara watched these exchanges with growing interest. Through their bond, Jake could feel her learning to see humans in a new way. Not as weak creatures to be protected or despised, but as a different kind of warrior with different strengths. On the 4th day, they reached Zerion Prime. The planet was dark and forbidding. The stealth ship landed in a rocky canyon 3 miles from Fortress Zerion. Jake, Zara, and 2 other Cathari soldiers crept through the darkness toward the massive structure. The fortress rose above them like a metal mountain, its shields crackling with deadly energy. Jake's plan had worked perfectly so far. They had found the maintenance entrance exactly where he predicted, hidden behind fake rock that looked real but was actually metal. The guards were light, just as Jake had expected. 2 quick, silent attacks by the Cathari soldiers had cleared the way. Inside the fortress, the corridors were dark and filled with the hum of machinery. Jake led the way, following maintenance maps he had studied during their planning. The stolen Cathari technology was being held in Research Level 7, deep underground. They moved like shadows through the halls. When guards appeared, the Cathari soldiers dealt with them quickly and quietly. Jake was amazed at how deadly and efficient Zara's people could be when they needed to be silent instead of honorable. "The research level is just ahead," Jake whispered into his communicator. Through their bond, he could feel Zara's tension. She was worried about something, but trying to hide it from him. They reached a heavy door marked with the Gemini symbols. Beyond it lay the research laboratories where enemy scientists were studying stolen alien technology. Jake began working on the electronic lock, using techniques he had learned from fixing broken systems. Jake, Zara said quietly, I'm detecting something else on this level. Life signs, many of them. Jake paused in his work. Scientists? No, the signs are too weak. These people are sick or injured. Jake felt cold understanding wash over him. Prisoners. They're experimenting on prisoners. Through their bond, Jake felt Zara's shock and disgust. The Cathari valued honor above everything else. The idea of experimenting on helpless prisoners was completely against everything they believed. The door opened with a soft click. Beyond it lay a corridor lined with laboratory rooms. In the first room, Jake saw equipment he didn't recognize, strange machines that hummed with alien energy. But in the second room, he saw something that made his heart stop. Humans. Dozens of them, locked in metal cages barely big enough to stand in. They were thin and weak, wearing the torn remains of civilian clothing. Some were unconscious. Others stared at Jake and his companions with hopeless eyes. My God, Jake whispered. They're using humans as test subjects. One of the prisoners, a woman about Jake's age, pressed her face against the bars of her cage. Please, she whispered. Help us. They've been doing terrible things to us. Testing. Their mind control devices on us. Jake looked at Zara. Through their bond, he could feel her internal struggle. The mission was to steal the Cathari technology and get out. Saving prisoners wasn't part of the plan. It would make their escape much harder and more dangerous. We have to save them, Jake said. That was not our mission, Zara replied. But Jake could feel her uncertainty. These are innocent people, Jake said. They're being tortured and experimented on. We can't just leave them here. If we try to rescue them, we might fail to complete our primary mission, Zara said. The stolen Cathari. Technology could be used to enslave entire worlds. Saving these few humans might do millions of others. Jake understood her logic, but he couldn't accept it. What's the point of saving millions of people if we become the kind of people who leave innocent prisoners to die? Through their bond, Jake felt something change in Zara. His human moral conviction was affecting her, making her question her own priorities. The Cathari honored strength and duty, but they also honored protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. You are asking me to risk everything for a few dozen humans, Zara said. I'm asking you to do what's right, Jake replied. Zara was quiet for a long moment. Then she activated her communicator. Lynn, we have found human prisoners being used for experiments. We're going to free them. Captain, that will compromise the mission, came Lynn's voice through the radio. I know, Zara said. But my human companion has shown me that some things are more important than following orders exactly. They split up. The two Cathari soldiers went to find the stolen technology, while Jake and Zara worked to free the prisoners. Jake used his engineering skills to override the electronic locks on the cages, while Zara stood guard. The freed humans were weak and scared, but they could walk. Jake found emergency supplies in one of the laboratories, including food and medical kits. As they prepared to leave, alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the fortress. We've been discovered, Zara said. The main entrance is blocked. They're sealing off the entire level. Jake felt panic rising in his chest, but he forced himself to think. There has to be another way out. Maintenance shafts, emergency exits, something. He studied the fortress plans on his portable computer. There was an emergency evacuation tunnel that led to the surface, but it was on the other side of the research level. To reach it, they would have to go through areas crawling with enemy soldiers. "I have an idea," Jake said. "But you're not going to like it." Through their bond, Zara felt his determination and his fear. "What are you planning?" "I'm going to break the connection," Jake said. "The Vel-Korim bond. I'm going to do something that should be impossible according to your people's understanding." Zara stared at him in shock. "That cannot be done. The bond is permanent." "Maybe for your people," Jake said, "but humans are different. We're unpredictable. We don't always follow the rules, even rules that are supposed to be absolute." Jake closed his eyes and concentrated on the warm feeling in his chest. The bond with Zara was there, connecting their minds and emotions. But Jake could also feel his own individual will, his human stubbornness and independence. He pushed against the bond, not trying to break it permanently, but trying to act independently despite it. It felt like trying to lift a mountain with his mind, but slowly Jake felt the connection loosen. "Jake, what are you doing?" Zara gasped. Through the weakening bond, she could feel his struggle. "Creating a distraction," Jake said. He grabbed several explosive charges from his equipment and ran toward the central laboratory. "Get the prisoners to the evacuation tunnel. I'm going to make the enemy think there are attackers everywhere." "Jake, no." Zara called after him, but Jake was already moving. He placed the charges throughout the laboratory complex, setting them to explode in sequence. Each explosion would make the enemy think they were under attack from multiple directions. In the confusion, Zara and the prisoners might be able to escape. But as Jake placed the last charge, enemy soldiers found him. He was surrounded, outnumbered, and trapped. Through their partially broken bond, he felt Zara's despair and rage. Then something impossible happened. Jake felt the bond snap back together, stronger than before. But this time, it was different. Instead of Zara commanding him, they were working together as partners. He could feel her tactical knowledge combining with his human creativity. "Jake, can you hear me?" Zara's voice came through their mental connection instead of the radio. "I can hear you," Jake replied the same way. "The soldiers are coming from the East Corridor. 3 groups, 12 soldiers each. Can you reach the maintenance shaft behind you?" Jake looked and saw the shaft Zara was talking about. "Yes, but what about the prisoners?" "Lin and the others have reached the stolen technology. We're all moving toward the evacuation tunnel. Your explosions are working. The enemy thinks they're under attack by a full army." Jake climbed into the maintenance shaft just as the first explosions went off. The fortress shook, alarms screamed, and he could hear soldiers shouting in confusion. His plan was working. He crawled through the narrow shaft toward the evacuation tunnel. Behind him, more explosions rocked the fortress. Through his bond with Zara, he could sense that she and the prisoners were moving safely through the chaos. When Jake finally reached the evacuation tunnel, he found Zara waiting for him with the rescued humans and the stolen Cathari technology. The tunnel led to a hidden exit 3 miles from the fortress. "How did you do it?" Zara asked as they ran through the tunnel. "How did you break the bond and then reform it?" "I didn't break it," Jake said, breathing hard. "I changed it. Instead of you controlling me, we became partners. The bond evolved." "That should not be possible," Zara said. "A lot of things I do shouldn't be possible according to your people," Jake replied. "Maybe that's what makes humans useful." They reached the hidden exit just as their stealth ship arrived to pick them up. As they climbed aboard with the rescued prisoners and stolen technology, Jake felt the bond with Zara settling into its new form. They were still connected, but now it was a partnership of equals instead of master and servant. Through the ship's windows, they could see Fortress Zarian burning in the distance. Jake's explosions had caused much more damage than he had planned, and the fortress was partially collapsing. The High Commander will want to know how we succeeded, Zara said. Will you tell him the truth? Jake asked. I will tell him that humans are more than we believed, Zara said. I will tell him that your species has abilities we don't understand, and that those abilities might be exactly what we need in the war against the hegemony. Jake felt something he hadn't expected. Through their evolved bond, he could sense that Zara's feelings toward him had changed completely. She no longer saw him. The bridge of the Dominion was filled with tension as Jake and Zara stood before High Commander Vex Star. The rescued human prisoners waited in the ship's medical bay, while the stolen Cathari technology sat on a table between them. But Jake could sense through his bond with Zara that something was very wrong. You have succeeded where I expected you to fail, Vex Star said, walking around them slowly like a predator circling prey. The stolen technology is recovered. The hegemony research facility is destroyed. Most impressive. Thank you, High Commander, Zara said carefully. But you have also created a problem, Vex Star continued. These human prisoners you rescued have seen our ships, our technology, our methods. They know too much about our military capabilities. Jake felt ice form in his stomach. Through their bond, he could sense Zara's growing alarm. The prisoners were victims, High Commander, Zara said. They were being tortured and experimented on. Cathari honor demanded that we save them. Cathari honor, Vex Star laughed coldly, does not extend to protecting alien species that might betray our secrets to our enemies. They won't betray anything, Jake said, stepping forward. These people just want to go home to their families. Vex Star's golden eyes focused on Jake. Ah, yes, the human pet speaks again. Tell me, creature, how did you manage to break the Velcorin bond during your mission? Jake felt Zara's warning through their connection, but he answered honestly. I didn't break it. I changed it, made it into something better. Impossible. Vex Star said. The Velcorin has been the same for thousands of years. It cannot be changed. Maybe it couldn't be changed by your people, Jake said. But humans think differently. We don't accept that things have to stay the same forever. Vex Star studied Jake for a long moment. Fascinating. Your species continues to surprise me. Which is why I've decided that all humans are too dangerous to be allowed to live freely in the galaxy. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. Around the bridge, Cathari soldiers moved to surround them. High Commander, what are you saying? Zara asked. I am saying that humans are unpredictable and therefore dangerous, Vex Star replied. This one has shown abilities that should not exist. Who knows what other surprises his species might have? Better to eliminate the threat now, before it becomes worse. The prisoners are innocent, Jake said desperately. They haven't done anything wrong. They exist, Vex Star said simply. That is enough. Through their bond, Jake felt Zara's shock and growing anger. She had not expected this. None of them had. I will not allow you to murder innocent people, Zara said, her hand moving to her weapon. You will not allow? Vex Star laughed. Captain, you forget your place. I am your superior. You will obey my orders. Not this time, Zara said. She drew her energy pistol and pointed it at Vex Star. Around the bridge, dozens of weapons suddenly pointed at her. Jake felt the moment freeze in time. Through their bond, he could sense Zara's resolve and her fear. She was willing to die to protect the human prisoners, but she was just one person against an entire ship. Then something unexpected happened. Lin Zhao, who had been standing behind them, drew her own weapon and pointed it at Vex Star as well. Commander. Lin, what are you doing? Vex Star demanded. Following my captain, Lin said calmly. I have served with Captain Zara for 10 years. I have seen her honor, her courage, her wisdom. If she says these humans should be protected, then I believe her. One by one, Other officers on the bridge began drawing their weapons and pointing them at Vextar instead of at Zara. The two Cathari soldiers who had gone on the mission stepped forward to stand with their captain. "You have all lost your minds." Vextar snarled. "One human has infected you with his weakness." "He has shown us that strength comes in many forms," Lin said. "Human courage is different from ours, but it is real. Human honor is different from ours, but it is true." Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. A communications officer called out from his station. "High Commander, we're detecting massive hegemony fleet movements. Over 200 ships heading this way." Jake felt his heart sink. The hegemony must have tracked them from Zirian Prime. Now enemy ships were coming to finish what the destroyed fortress had started. How long until they arrive? Vextar demanded. 6 hours, High Commander." Vextar looked around the bridge at the weapons still pointed at him. "Stand down your weapons, and I might let you live long enough to die fighting the enemy." "No," Zara said. "You will order the human prisoners released to their own people. Then we will fight the hegemony together." "Together?" Vextar laughed. "With what? Humans have no warships, no weapons that can hurt hegemony vessels." "They have other things," Jake said quietly. "They have ideas, different ways of thinking, different ways of fighting." Through their bond, Jake felt an idea forming in Zara's mind. It was crazy and dangerous, but it might work. "Jake is right," Zara said. "Human tactics are different from ours. We fight with honor and strength. They fight to survive and win. Against the hegemony, we might need both." "You suggest an alliance?" Vextar asked mockingly. "Between our mighty fleet and a few primitive human ships?" "I suggest we test the theory," Zara replied. "Contact the human fleet. Tell them about the coming attack. See what they propose." Vextar considered this. Around him, the weapons of his own officers remained, pointed at his chest. He had lost control of his own bridge. "Fine," he said finally. "Contact the humans. But when their weakness fails us, I will destroy them all and you with them." 2 hours later, the human fleet arrived. Jake watched through the view screen as sleek human warships took positions alongside the massive Cathari battleships. The human ships were smaller and faster, built for speed and maneuverability rather than raw power. Admiral Kate Foster of the human fleet came aboard the Dominion for a strategy meeting. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "So," she said, looking around the war room filled with alien officers, "we have 6 hours to figure out how to beat an enemy that outnumbers us 3-1. "Human Admiral," Vextar said with barely controlled anger, "your ships cannot even damage hegemony armor. What do you propose to do?" "What we do best," Foster replied with a cold smile. "Cause trouble." Jake found himself translating between the two species as they planned their defense. The Cathari wanted to meet the enemy in honorable ship-to-ship combat. The humans wanted to use tricks, traps, and deception. "Your human tactics are cowardly," one Cathari admiral said. "Your alien tactics are stupid," Foster shot back. "Honor doesn't matter if you're dead." Through his bond with Zara, Jake could feel her working to bridge the gap between the two groups. She was learning to think like a human while still honoring her Cathari values. "What if we combine both approaches?" Zara suggested. "Use human cunning to create opportunities for Cathari strength?" "Explain," Vextar demanded. Jake stepped forward. "The hegemony expects you to fight them directly. They've planned for that. But they haven't planned for humans and Cathari working together." Over the next 4 hours, they developed a battle plan that none of them could have created alone. Human ships would use their speed and stealth to confuse and divide the enemy. Fleet. Cathari ships would use their massive firepower to destroy the separated enemy groups. When the hegemony fleet arrived, The battle began exactly as planned. Human ships darted between enemy vessels like insects, too fast to hit, but carrying powerful electronic warfare systems that jammed enemy communications and sensors. The confused hegemony ships found themselves separated and alone, perfect targets for the devastating weapons of the Cathari battleships. But the battle turned when the hegemony activated their secret weapon, the mind control devices they had been developing. Waves of mental energy swept across space, designed to break the L. Psychic bonds that many alien species used for coordination. Jake felt the attack hit his bond with Zara like a hammer blow. But instead of breaking, their evolved connection held firm. More than that, it seemed to get stronger. "It's not working on us," Jake said in amazement. "The mind control can't break our bond." Through their connection, Jake and Zara coordinated the combined fleet's attacks with perfect precision. They could share information instantly, react to threats before they fully developed, and anticipate each other's moves perfectly. The tide of battle turned. The hegemony's greatest weapon was useless against the human Cathari partnership. Their fleet began to retreat, damaged and demoralized. In the aftermath of victory, High Commander Vexstar stood once again before Jake and Zara. But this time, his expression was different. Respectful. "I was wrong about your species," he said to Jake. "Humans are not weak. They are different. And sometimes, different is exactly what we need." "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Now we build something new," Zara said. "An alliance between our peoples. Ships crewed by both humans and Cathari. Shared knowledge, shared strength." Vexstar nodded slowly. "Captain Zara, I am promoting you to Admiral. You will command the new joint fleet. And you, human, will serve as liaison between our species." 6 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Alliance ship Unity, watching human and Cathari crew, members working side by side. Through his bond with Zara, now Admiral Zara, he could feel her satisfaction and hope. "Do you ever regret taking the oath?" she asked him during a quiet moment. Jake thought about everything that had happened. The